Project ARC, which stands for the Assuming Responsibility for Climate Change. So the idea is that we were trying to increase awareness in all our countries about climate change. The focus of our project is the way that digital technologies will be affecting the positively climate change and hopefully reversing climate change. And some of the themes that we talked about already is about changing the learning process, changing the way we work, the way we commute, the way we consume energy, and of course the way we produce and manage waste. And which brings us to more generic discussions, like hopefully what we will do today, which is about discussion on waste and how this affects the world. The impact of this project should be really, really big for everyone, especially young generation. So what we're trying to do here is like not just to have a meeting between academics and mature people, but provide the resources which hopefully in September, when the students are back, they will be able to see the recordings. We will be able to use these resources between project partners and hopefully make a change. I'm really cross when I go traveling both in the UK and in Greece, and I see young people leaving behind anything, rubbish, that recyclable items or waste that should not be left in the countryside. Then it's also the volume of waste being produced, the fact that people do not understand packaging and smart packaging that can actually be better for the environment and everyone. So these are some aspects that I'm trying to teach my young daughter. She's 5.5, and I love it when yesterday she was waiting for me to finish my water bottle so she could actually recycle in different bins the cup and the bottle. And then we were discussing about how it would be much better, instead of using a plastic bottle, to use a glass bottle or a thermo to reuse and refill all the time. So it is very important. Every single one of us will have individual responsibility and accountability for climate change. And today, and I really wanted to thank Maya from Mostar University, because I think that what we have today is really an amazing panel to discuss very useful insights. And hopefully it's going to generate quite a few questions towards the end, but hopefully it will provide some answers, but even new questions, okay? So Maya, if you would like to introduce our panel, thank you so much. I'm really, really thankful for organizing this, and I'm looking forward for an exciting discussion now. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, George. So my colleague Emina, she will moderate today's session. So she will start this webinar today.
Hello and welcome to today's session. I would like to welcome you to our webinar, which is part of Project Assuming Responsibility for Climate Change. Today's topic is waste reduction, a new life for waste, provided by Dzemal Bijedic University of Mostar, represented by the team Associate Professor Denisa Žujo-Zekic, then Associate Professor Emina Demovic, and Associate Professor Maja Kazažić, who is going to start presentation about waste and waste management in Bosnia and Herzegovina. I would also like to introduce our panelists: Anna Popovatz, green activist, Sanja Đermanović, Executive Director Deputy at Citizens Association Nešto Više, Olivera Olja Arapović, President of Ecological Association Majski Cvijet. A recorded version of this webinar will be available on YouTube channel of the project. Please feel free to ask the questions during the session in the chat. We will try to answer the questions after presentation. Now I would give the word to Professor Maja Kazažić.
Okay, hello everybody and welcome. I would also like to welcome you to today's webinar, and thank you very much for attending this session. So at the beginning, I will say a few general words about today's topic, and then afterwards we have a list of panelists which will provide us with a very, I hope, very interesting presentations. So as we all know, climate change has reached frightening proportions, and the waste that people produce every day is largely to blame. Europe generates a large amount of waste, such as food and garden waste, construction and demolition waste, mining waste, industrial waste, sludge, old batteries, plastic bags, paper, old clothes, old furniture. And this list, it only goes on. The amount of waste that we generate is closely linked to our consumption and production patterns. So, waste directly or indirectly affects our environment in many ways. Some ecosystems, like the marine and coastal ecosystems, can be severely affected by poor management of waste. Whatever is not recycled or recovered from waste represent a loss of raw material and other inputs used in the chain. Environmental impacts in the life cycle chain are significantly larger than those in the waste management phases alone. So directly or indirectly, waste also affects our health and well-being in many ways. Some examples are methane gases that contribute to the climate change, then air pollutants that are released into the atmosphere, freshwater sources which are contaminated, crops which are grown in contaminated soil, and fish which ingest toxic chemicals. Illegal activities such as illegal dumping, burning, or exports also play a part, but it is difficult to estimate the full extent of such activities or of their impact. So if we talk about waste management in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we all know in Bosnia and Herzegovina that waste is considered as one of the most important environmental problems. And according to the data from the last year, the amount of waste produced in Bosnia and Herzegovina is 354 kilos per capita, while in the European Union, this amount is 483 kilograms. So if we read this data, we can think that we produce less waste than EU countries, but this is not true because the actual quantities of waste are higher. Given that only 74% of population in Bosnia and Herzegovina is covered by organized waste collection, which is done by the companies which are wholly or partly state-owned. And in small number, there are also some private companies which have contracts with the local governments. Waste represent one of the main environmental issues in Bosnia and Herzegovina, mainly due to the inadequate management, lack of infrastructure, and social attitude towards waste. So the current problem of insufficient waste disposal system capacities has led to considerable quantities of waste being dumped illegally at roadsides, in rivers, abandoned mines, and similar places, and this is posing threats to public health and the environment. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, waste management and implementation of the policies is the responsibility of two entities, which are the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina and Republic of Srpska, and Brčko district. So this means that there are three institutions in Bosnia and Herzegovina that are responsible for developing and implementing waste management policies in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and those are the Ministry of Environment and Tourism of the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, the Ministry of Physical Planning and Civil Engineering and Ecology of Republic Srpska, and the Department for Physical Planning and Proprietary Affairs of the Government of Brčko district. In year 2000, the waste management reform in Bosnia and Herzegovina started with the national strategy waste management as a part of EU FAIR program. This FAIR program is one of the 3 pre-acquisition instruments which are financed by the European Union to assist the applicant countries of Central and Eastern Europe in their preparation for joining the European Union. So this strategy started the regionalization concept in Bosnia and Herzegovina, which prescribed that the country requires 16 sanitary landfills. So the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina is currently in the process of developing a new environmental protection strategy for Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina for the period of the next 10 years, and a new federal waste management plan to replace the one that already expired in 2017. Also, one of the problems in our country is that in the cantons, they also develop their own strategic documents on waste management as a part of their legal obligation arising from the law on waste management. So as a result of this, there are the number of non-compliant municipal landfills and illegal dump sites in Bosnia and Herzegovina. This number is still very high. Also, the country is lacking facilities to dispose special waste categories, and these usually end up at municipal landfills, threatening human health and the environment. Current recycling rates are far lower than those achieved in other European countries. So the most common way of disposing of waste in Bosnia and Herzegovina is still disposal in landfills. This traditional and inefficient system is considered the last choice in the European Union because it contributes to climate change and air pollution and directly affects ecosystems and the living world. So overall in European Union, an increasing amount of waste is recycled and decreasing amount is sent to landfills, but large discrepancies still exist between countries. So for example, Germany, Sweden and Switzerland, they each send less than 2% of their municipal waste to landfills, while Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Latvia, Malta are examples of countries which send more than 90% of their municipal waste to the landfills.
Thank you, Professor Maja, for this introduction. Our first panelist today is Anna Popovatz. She graduated from the Faculty of Electrotechnical Engineering at Naval Architecture in Split, Croatia. She was educated in postgraduate programs in management and IT in Sarajevo and finance in Ohio. She is finalizing a joint master program, business management at universities of Sarajevo and Mostar. From impressive biography, we would point out her involvement in local community. She is active citizen of Mostar and works with NGO Jedna se tiče on closing regional landfill Uborak and to introduce proper waste management in the city of Mostar. Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Professor before said that 90% of municipal waste finishes on landfills. In Mostar case is 100%. So I wanted actually to show you at the end this video, but I will do it at the very beginning simply for you to see what we are fighting against. So this is how we deposit our waste. Trucks are going up on the hill of the waste, and they're just unloading, and wind is spreading it around to the northern part of the Mostar. You see all this dust. It finishes in the gardens, in houses, and in the lungs of the people. So this is how we manage waste at the moment. So instead of waste reduction, I will actually talk to you about waste production. So this is it, and this video is just made, I think, at the end of last year, and the situation is the same even now. So let me show you now how it looks. So you see, this is the old landfill Ubarak that is not properly closed. Trucks are not unloading the garbage to it, but still it's not properly closed. So every single wind or rain goes through it or take dust from it to the city of Mostar, and this landfill is actually just 7 kilometers from UNESCO protected heritage Old Town and Old Bridge in Mostar. Slightly to the north, to the up, here is new landfill that you saw. This was a green area just a couple of years ago, but now it's a whole hill of the garbage. And this is where they plan to extend landfill. And this is not a normal, because first house is just 50 meters from this landfill. And here that I marked police on the left corner and our container, this is where people, our container meaning container of the people who are trying to close this landfill and push government to find a new location, and this is where police is to prevent people to block entrance to the landfill. You have to know that we produce, we put 45,000 tons of waste per year. This is 23 tons every day that we put on this landfill. And this is not just for Mostar municipalities, for even surrounding municipalities. But since Mostar is the biggest town in this area, only Mostar waste is 30,000 tons per year, meaning 82 tons per day we deliver here. So people started to protest against it when they noticed that they are dying, they are getting sick, and that children are getting born with some diseases. So they were organized themselves on this around this NGO Jer se tiče. When you translate it into English, it means because it concerns us. They are actually active since 2015. They were protesting, but they registered the NGO in June 2019 when this problem was over the top of all that they dreamt about. And it started with 20 people. Now they have 350 or 400 people in it, all nationalities. It's really important to mention that in Mostar, since Mostar is still considered as divided city. And this is on the left, you can see photo. People were gathering there on the 40 degrees like today, trying to prevent those trucks to go to the hill and unload one more time, couple more tons that day. And they started to protest it in June 2019, and with some breaks, they were protesting till the end of 2019. And it appeared that this Ubarak is also is causing exponential growth of cancerogenic diseases in Mostar area especially. What was important to know that landfill lost its environment and all other permits in September 2019, and that was effective in December 2019, but still was not closed, and even today it receives waste because of the political pressure not to close it. Fortunately, what people managed to do is that at least animal waste and medical waste is not deposited there anymore. Landfill is also 1 kilometer from the river Neretva that goes through Mostar, and we don't swim in our river anymore because of the skin diseases that we could get. Our goal is actually to to close present location and to install waste water filter into present location. So people were actually gathering there and preventing trucks to enter garbage, and Mostar was covered with its own garbage. So instead of dealing with finding solution and dealing with the problem, actually cantonal government sent a special police to people. So you see, these were terrible scenes in December 2019 when some people got even broken hands and necks and injuries of various types. So people were understood that they cannot prevent any more delivering of the garbage, but they started to organize various events simply to shed a light on the problem, because all the time people or government, city government was saying that it's just a problem of the northern part of Mostar, it doesn't concern whole Mostar, while all Mostar is actually dying from these cancerous diseases. So people organized even New Year Eve and peaceful gathering on the Ubarak. And they also organized children to make drawings, and you can see in this drawing, this drawing was made before the pandemic, and you can see that son has a mask on this drawing. 8 years old child made this drawing, and you see plastic bags instead of leaves and flowers on the trees. This is how children, small children, see their environment in the northern part of Mostar. And people continued to put the pressure on various levels of government and to shed a light. So they made the protest walks every week, every weekend, and they were so more and more they were getting to their citizens to get support about it. So from May 2019 to May 2021, no real action was actually done toward the problem solution. Only when people are blocking entrance to the landfill, local authorities wake up and try to do something. And instead of working on solution of this problem, actually people got misdemeanor warrants in the amount of 500 convertible marks, which is 255 euros. It's too much here for this, where we know that average salary is more or less 400 euros. And there were families where 3 members of the family got this warrant. In order to make more pressure on local authorities and cantonal authorities, people submitted criminal charges against the Minister of Interior, Mayor of Mostar, and Chief Advisor of Mayor, and 2 police commanders, but nothing happened so far. And then pandemic started in March 2020, and people actually withdrew themselves just 2 days before officially pandemic was proclaimed in Bosnia Herzegovina, and that was actually fortunate decision, because if they didn't withdraw themselves from the entrance, then they would be proclaimed as the guilty one for the death of hundreds of our citizens in Mostar. Like they would be proclaimed that they actually helped Corona or COVID to come to Mostar because of the garbage on the street. But still, they continued with activities, collection of signatures, leaflets, social networks, sewing masks. And in May 2020, they made a protest walk with all these measures, COVID measures taken care of. And also, since never federal ministry who is responsible for this for the landfills permissions and federal inspector never actually appeared at the site at the Ubarak to see how it looks from the first hand. Then people made these scarecrows in the form of the minister and federal inspector. And it was funny. There was a funny story that the very same day, Minister of Environment was in Mostar when people announced that she will visit Ubarak landfill. And then journalists asked her, "Oh, are we going to see you later on in the Ubarak?" She said, "No." And then when a journalist appeared, they realized what people were announcing actually. Then in June, people marked the blockage anniversary of the first blockage, and then police came and filmed every single person. So local and cantonal government, instead of taking care of finding solution for this problem, they are actually taking care of putting more pressure and punishing people who are just trying to get problems solved. So in July and August, citizens' support was sought and got people collected 5,000 signatures of support. And they delivered even masks to fellow citizens. In January 2021, the city of Mostar and Free City Utilities companies actually sued the Citizens Association because it concerned us for the free blockages of the Ubarak landfill. They are seeking compensation in the amount of 700,000 convertible marks to 350,000 euros. This is all adding more pressure on the people, but this didn't prevent people to continue their pressure on it, on the government. So we had elections, local elections in Mostar in December. As of January this year, we have new city council. And now people are working with this new city council, asking them to solve this problem. What people achieved is that this Ubarak landfill problem is now on the top of the to-do list for the new city council, and they are on the words saying that they are going to work on the solution of this problem, but in a real life we didn't see a single positive move about it. So people continued to make pressure and even to get to hire more people outside of Mostar. They made even these cartoons. On the left, you can see a politician is saying, "Oh, Mostar and air in Mostar is clean," while people are down with those masks requesting to close Ubarak. And then you have to know, before pandemic, we had 1 million tourists visiting Mostar every year. But look, when you as a tourist come to Mostar, then you will see these plastic bags all over Mostar. Also, our river looks nice on the left, looks nice on the surface, but really down tons of garbage are in it. And also we have a problem of this cancerogenic material from the collectors that city administration also built, and they put 6 tons of this cancerogenic material into Ubarak landfill also. And on the right you can see a cartoon which is showing politicians who is hovering, collecting money from the people who are asking for the closure of the landfill. So this is where I stopped with my presentation, but what I actually want to tell you is that only when the citizens gather in front of the landfill and close the entrance of the trucks loaded with the waste, this is when local governments start to work on the solution of the problems. Authorities are not transparent, not accountable, and heavily corrupted. And more similar initiatives are happening around the country, and they get connected and they get support from each other. For example, there is a group of women from Kruščice who prevented with their bodies construction of one small hydropower plant. They visited these people, and these people are going and visiting them and supporting each other. Also, Oliver supports these people, and Sanja, who will talk about this later. So next steps for us is extensively to work with the newly elected city councillors to find a new location and to start a proper waste management, because we cannot allow ever again to have something similar like Uborak landfill. We need to start a proper waste management, and we have everything clearly written in our law. We just expect our governments to respect our law. And this is, I'm available for all your questions later, and I will let Sanja to tell you how we can actually reduce garbage that we produce. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Amna, for this very interesting talk. This is a topic which very much concerns all of us living in Mostar, but I think that also all the people in Bosnia Herzegovina are very much informed about this topic and about all these events which have been here in Mostar for the last 2 years, as you presented. So. As a small introduction to our next panelist, I will just go back to presentation and ask, since we now mentioned that more than 90% or 100% of our waste here, it ends up in of our municipal waste, it ends up in landfills. What if we use waste as a resource and thereby scale down the demand for extraction of new resources and also reduce the waste that we produce? So extracting fewer materials and using existing resources would help avert some of the impacts which are created along the chain. And unused waste also represent a potential loss of waste. So turning waste into a resource by 220 was also one of the key objectives of the European Union's roadmap to a resource-efficient Europe. This roadmap also highlights the need to ensure high-quality recycling, eliminate landfills, limit energy recovery to non-recyclable materials, and also stop the illegal shipment of waste. So we should be aware of the fact that more than 60% of waste can be recycled. So in order to do this, it is very important to know that waste needs to be collected separately in order to enable recycling, and at the same time significantly reduce or completely avoid the disposal of waste in landfills. This process results in energy and material savings as opposed to increased costs for producing products from new raw materials. So all of us can contribute and try to reduce waste and at the same time reduce the climate change. So we can reduce think about creating less waste when we are at home, in the office, or at school. There are many opportunities to contribute by either reducing, reusing, or recycling.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you, Professor Maya. Our second panelist is Sanja Germanovic. She holds master's degree in psychology and peace conflict studies at St. John's St. Benedict College, USA, in collaboration with Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University in South Africa. She is also executive director deputy at Citizens Association Nešto Više, and she is going to tell us more about their organization and what are their aims of their work. So, Sanja, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy to be here with you, and thank you for the opportunity to show and talk about how a small group of people can change something in this beautiful world that is going down because we don't think enough. So let me just introduce our organization quickly so that you can be aware of who we are and what we do. We established our organization Nešto Više in 1997, and we have worked all over Bosnia and Herzegovina, especially in rural areas. We have offices in these three biggest towns, and these are some topics that we are interested in. My colleagues and I, we work on youth leadership, employment, marginalized and vulnerable groups, social entrepreneurship, environment, internship and volunteering, informal education, permaculture, and circular economy. We also, a couple of years ago, we established a small social enterprise, which is named Eco Design. One of our biggest passion is actually permaculture. And unfortunately, in our country, many people still didn't get the term, or they don't know what the permaculture is. In 2013, as Nešto Više, as an organization, we bought a piece of land, around 1 hectare, closely to Mostar. And what we are doing there is we're transforming that piece of land to a permaculture farm, which is still in process because we have to work in dynamic following and learning from nature. Permaculture, just quickly, is a global movement, but it is also a lifestyle. So we are learning and practicing how to live in harmony with nature and how to not harm anyone or anything, including, obviously, ourselves. It's about gardening, so growing food. It's about local resources, energy, buildings, and human communities. Permaculture covers all of those topics. Also, it is really important to notice that permaculture design is about sustainability. So every time you want to build something, or you start a garden, or you're buying a new house, or you are organizing a new group of people, it is everything about design, because we need to think in front of how to make sustainable systems. Permaculture is basically about observing and learning how nature does something, and then by this observing, how to apply those patterns in every single piece in our lives. Well, this is the part of our permaculture farm, and as you can see, it's not done. It will never be done. It might look nicer in future because we are adding elements, but as you can see, there are a couple of objects there. that we actually found there when we bought this. And then we have orchards and we have greenhouses, different kinds of open gardens, and everything is actually we are trying to work with nature in every single segment. Okay, these are a couple of topics that we are working really hard on. So let's talk about food and waste. It's a kind of oxymoron because we need food to eat, not to put food in any kind, use it in any kind of waste. So what we have there, we have edible gardens. We use old seeds and reproduce those seeds so we can share with other gardeners. We are using companion planting, so we don't have monocultures. We are supporting and developing biodiversity, so adding new plants and calling with this biodiversity, calling other creatures from the nature. And we try to live in harmony with any other life forms within the nature. As you know, gardeners, there's some gardeners are scared from different insects or snakes or birds. We actually work and learn from nature how to incorporate them in our system, because obviously we get there into their territory. They're not in the towns where we live, so we need to respect them in any way while gardening. We are trying to protect soil with a mulch, which is cover some natural material like hay or grass or wood chips. That means that we keep the soil alive because the soil is actually a house for many millions of living creatures, some that we can see and many of them that we cannot see because they're really tiny. But the soil and healthy of soil and healthy of our planet depends on healthy soil with microorganisms, with fungi, with all these small creatures within. Talking about weeds, also gardening issue. There is no fight with weeds at our permaculture farm. We see weeds as helpers in our gardens. Many of them are edible, and the most of them are more nutritious than any of crops that we regularly grow in our gardens. I mentioned this, but no any kind of harming chemistry, only natural fertilizers. Mostly we make fertilizers from the plants, and harming chemistry means that it's not about only not harming ourselves, but not harming any other creature in the environment. And I will just mention this because I'm sure that all of you know that, but actually 1/3 of fresh food in the world goes to the dumps just because they have wrong shape. They are not similar like eggs to each other. And that's one problem. And the other problem, mix of bio and hard waste makes greenhouse gases at the landfills and makes all this trouble with climate changes. So we are really aware of that, and we have no waste at our farm when we talk about food. All edible, healthy crops and weeds are eaten. We are thinking about smart cooking. So we plan, we pick fresh from the garden as much as we need, not more than we need. So no waste food. We are also drying food and herbs, making juices, pickling stuff. So we use everything at our farm to actually not go to any kind of waste, but to be used as food, as healthy support to our organisms. Another important thing at our farm is composting and bioenzyme. So-called bio-waste, so scraps from our kitchens. When we peel something, vegetables or fruits, or we cut some green leaves, everything that is not edible go to our composters. Biomass also, which is the rest of the plants, branches from the trees, leaves that we get during the fall season, grass cuttings, etc. All of that go to composters again, and which we will be reusing all the time, adding organic matter back to our soil. Compost is actually the best food for our plants. And that pattern is taken from woods, which are the richest ecosystems, the perfect ecosystems in the world. When we add compost to the soil, what we actually do, we make it richer and more healthy, and we increase every year harvest, so we get more, and we do every next season we have less work to do. So nature do many work for us. Bioscraps that are not suitable for composting, like for example, citrus peels, goes to producing bioenzyme, which is very easy to make. You add like citrus peels, some brown sugar and water, and then after fermenting this, you can use it like healthy cleaning. Anything you can imagine in your house, in the car, in the offices, in the garden. It's also used for adding to cosmetics and for feeding and protecting plants in the gardens, which is what we are using it mostly. Also, I need to say that we are making connections with local restaurants and bars, because there they have a lot of kitchen scraps and coffee waste that simply goes to the garbage, and then we use it as making new compost for our soil. So that's one of the resources that we are wasting on everyday basis and making trouble, and landfills producing more gases that are harmful to our air. Water and waste. What about water? At our farm, we have actually green roof, which is living roof with plants, and they are both thermo and hydro insulation. So we have no air conditioning there, even though it's really hot during the summer. The plants that are living at the green roof, they are doing job for us. So it's not too hot during the summer, and it's not too cold during the winter. So we are saving energy like that. We are collecting rainwater from it, and the rainwater is the best for watering plants. We all know that. We also have a well, and the water there is not drinkable. But it's perfect for watering gardens. But what is important is that we use the same water in our house, in the kitchen and the bathroom, because there is no need to use drinkable water for cleaning stuff or taking a shower or cleaning dishes or cleaning house, floors, anything. But in the house, we also use biodegradable cosmetics and detergents, which means that gray water that we collect in outside of the house, and we recycle that gray water in something that we call reed bed. Reed plants actually are doing job for us, cleaning that gray water, which is again available to us, so we can watering the orchards with that. Drinkable water from the city system, we have it, obviously, of course, but we have it at only one small place, and we use it only for drinking. So no cleaning or washing anything with drinking water. Also, this is our next dream. We're gonna make a natural pool there, also with plants, with filters, natural filters. So we want to improve ecosystem. We want to swim during summer heat, and we want to collect more rainwater so we can watering our gardens with it. Energy. We have solar panels to produce electricity, which is enough for us. We don't use battery because it's very expensive, but it's also ecological bomb. We don't know where we would put it once when it's done after 5 to 8 years. So we use electricity as long as it's a day. It's really sunny and there is a lot of light in Mostar, so we cover the most of our needs. Also, we have solar dryer for food and herbs. We use gravitation a lot. People do not think about gravitation anymore, but in design, if you think in advance how to use gravitation, then you don't need to use electricity or any other power later on. So, for example, in green roof is higher than the rest of the property. We collect water and use gravitation to collect all the water somewhere where we can use it all over the property later on. So think design is really important in advance. Also, we are thinking and paying attention to materials and insulation at our objects. So cooling and heating are really important. We are trying to use as much as is possible natural materials, green walls and green roof, because they are helping us with heat and with the winter. Perennials and trees. How that is energy, but they are the most important and probably the most perfect examples of saving energy. They are protecting us from wind, they are protecting our soil, they are offering us shade during hot summers, they are lowering temperatures in the towns and all over the world, and of course they are producing oxygen for us. And in the end, there is no heavy machinery that destroys soil and use fossil fuels. So we are trying to also to avoid any pollution we can add to our planet. How about disposable packaging? Everything that Amna mentioned earlier means that no systemic recycling in Mostar region. So even though there are different garbage bins around, everything, even if you put glass where the glasses go and paper when paper go, the companies come and they put all together and drive all of that to the place that you saw. So when you think about it, why would you do anything about recycling? Because we can just say, I cannot do anything, so let's put all together, and then this is not my problem. I cannot solve it. I cannot contribute. But that's not really true. This is, of course, you cannot avoid everything, but there are many different ways you can try to avoid disposable packaging. So we try to buy as less as possible single-use plastic. Also, we are collecting from some of other NGOs. When meetings are organized, there's a lot of plastic bottles and plastic cups. We are trying to be gentle with our friends. And this is the first step. So we are taking those glasses and bottles to us, and we are using it, as you can see in this picture with the plants. We are using it as many times as we can for seedlings. But also we are working with them if they can use glasses or some other options that are not so bad for our planet. All soft plastics we put in PET bottles, making eco bricks, and then building small objects with them. You can see it on the lower picture. So in one of those bigger PET bottle, you can put around 6 big bags of soft plastic inside. So they're very hard, and you can use it for building smaller objects, like we do with the different beds for garden or benches, or even small houses for dogs or cats and similar stuff. Small plastic pots, which we buy unfortunately every day, we are trying to avoid that. But once when we have them, we are trying to use them as long as possible for seedlings. We also have some metal and aluminum cans, using them for many different purposes. There is no time to show you that, but we are trying to be creative instead of putting them into garbage. And then paper and cardboards, we are using a lot of it for composting and for mulching the soil. Some that have some colors that are not suitable for that, we are using for starting fire if we have some nights that we gonna put fire together with groups and things like that. So in the end, because the time is the time is up, can we actually as individuals decrease waste production? Every day we talk about it with our friends and visitors at our permaculture farm, and people mostly think that they cannot do anything, but mostly because there is no system in Mostar that would support or educate people how to recycle or reuse some of waste, which we rather call resources. But the truth is that each of us can be the agent of change. So please let us think together and refuse to buy single-use packaging as much as is possible. Let us buy food from local farmers that takes care of nature and not destroying it with pesticides. And even better, grow your own food. You can do it in balconies if you don't have soil. Everything is possible. If you can grow flowers at the balcony, you can grow food. Think of what kind of cosmetics and detergents we actually use, not only for us, but also for nature. Do not waste water. Be gentle and smart in ways of using it. When we live in the buildings, we cannot do much, but we can think when we use the water, how drinkable water, how much we can save it. Separate waste, because many of those wastes are actual resources. We can use them again and again. Make compost, bioenzyme, and go to nature more frequently, and think how is important that we have healthy environment. And let us think about new ways how we can saving our nature together. So involve other people, educate other people, especially children and youth, because they will have a really tough task in front of them, because we polluted this planet so much that they will need to be wizards to reverse that and save this planet for all of us. Thank you very much. I'm glad that I will be happy if any of you have a wish to visit us. We can talk about it more, but anyway, the most important thing, we as individuals and the small groups, we can change a lot of stuff in our environment.
Thank you for this great and wonderful presentation. It was very inspiring to hear about your work, also about the ideas that we can do and what actually we can do at our home, and how we can do better for our planet, just to think more about simple things in our home. Thank you so much. And I also hope that your dreams will came true about the natural pool.
Okay.
And at the end, because we are short with time, as example of good practice and example of one of many associations that act locally, we would like to hear a few words from the president of Ecological Association Majski Cvijet, Oliver Arapovic. He is not fluently in English, so he will introduce himself in local language, and I will try to translate it for you. Oliver, please tell us more about Majski Cvijet. Oliver, izvolite.
Hvala vam. Želio bih pozdraviti sve prisutne. Ukratko ću čisto samo predstaviti ekološku udrugu Majski cvijet, to jest ja sam Oliver Arapović, predsjednik ekološke udruge Majski cvijet, Mostar Buna. Udruženje već radi nekih 16 godina na unapređenju ekološke svijesti u Bosni i Hercegovini. U svom dosadašnjem radu iz vodotoka rijeke Neretve i ušća rijeke Bune izvadili smo preko 500 milijuna plastičnih boca, što i drugog materijala. U zadnjih 8 godina vodimo ovu borbu protiv gradnje 2 mini hidroelektrane Buna 1 i Buna 2. Što bi tu još želio istaknuti, da smo jednostavno na nekom dobrom putu gdje smo dobili sudske presude za okolinsku dozvolu i urbanističku suglasnost. Naš budući cilj je sprječavanje gradnje 2 mini hidroelektrane, jer su ovo područja pod zaštitom kako Federacije Bosne i Hercegovine, tako i kantona i županije. Tu još što bih želio istaknuti da ova područja treba zaštititi, to jeste floru i faunu u ovim vodotocima rijeke Bune, Bunice i Neretve. Što bih još želio istaknuti, na ovom području imamo 4 kritično ugrožene vrste. To je mekousna pastrmka, potočna pastrmka, glavatica, kao što su podusta, klijen sval. Još te endemske vrste su najsjenolisti, zaštićeni kritično ugroženih vrsta. Ova područja jednostavno želimo da sačuvamo i ostavimo budućim generacijama. To bi ukratko što bih želio reći. Još samo bih skrenuo pažnju da smo imali odličnu suradnju sa fakultetom Dzemal Bijedic i nadam se da ćemo tu suradnju u budućnosti nastaviti. Toliko od mene.
Hvala, Oliver. Thank you, Oliver. And I'm now trying to translate these words. We have been working for 16 years already on raising awareness in Bosnia and Herzegovina citizens about ecology-related issues in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So far we have recycled over 500,000 PET bottles and other waste from the rivers Neretva and Buna. During last 8 years, we have been running the campaign against construction of mini hydroelectric power plants Buna 1 and Buna 2. In the court procedures conducted so far, we have managed to annul the environment and urban permits, illegally issues to the investor. Our legal is to prevent construction of Buna 1 and Buna 2 because there are protected areas which have been a category of a monument of nature. And we also want to protect flora and fauna of Buna, Bunica and Neretva river. There are critically endangered species in these areas. and they are Adriatic trout, soft mouth trout, brook trout, marble trout, chub, which are all on the ICUN list. We want to rescue these areas and preserve them the nature to future generations. That's it. So now we have a time left for your questions. So please write your questions in the chat, and our panelists will try to answer it.
May I ask a question
Yes.
while we're waiting, Amina?
Yes.
First of all, thank you so much for coordinating in such a nice way, and thanks so much for the panel. Really, really enlightening. I stay on the point that Sanja did, where it said everybody to be an agent of change, which I love that concept. So how can I persuade my students in the UK to make a bit of change? Can you give us, like, how can we enlighten young people? Because usually I'm getting older now, so I'm almost 50, and I'm ancient. I used to say, okay, I can be young, and if they can see me as a role model. So what is the driver who can actually make people understand that the plastic bottle can be reused, the plastic cup, we can put a plant in there. So any ideas that we can actually create agents for change? Thank you.
You're so welcome. I understand your position because we worked many years trying to talk about it. And then we figure it out, oh no, it doesn't work well. I mean, some people grasp that, but the most of them, they go home and that's it. So this is why we bought this piece of land. And then we started to work practically on those stuff. So when people learn about new concepts, and then after that go out, we have a small classroom there, go out and do things with their hands, I promise you, the most of them go home and do the same things at home. So we all need motivation, and we all need more optimism, because it's so easy to get sad just watching news and media. Everything is so in trouble. But what we do at our place is just we have kids from kindergarten, from elementary schools, secondary schools. We have all people. We have everybody who wants to come there, and then we show them. We stop even to teach. We just show them how we do stuff and why we are doing it. And then, people get motivated and go home. And the important thing is that sometimes people think, oh, you have a farm, so it's easy for you to compost. But we also teach and show people how to do composting in apartments. It's easy and it's so fulfilling. So I don't know, maybe you should come with your students at our place, and then
that's a plan. I will take you on that offer. That's a plan. Amina and Maya, just to let you know, I tried to put something on the chat, but it says you cannot because you're not a member of the chat. So maybe we need to allow people to ask questions outside of the chat. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if anybody has a question that they would like to ask, they don't have to ask it in the chat. They can just turn their microphone on.
Okay, so I guess we're going to have more questions from the students when they start showing the recordings in September. I hope the panel is aware. That the recording, we will put it in the ARC, as we call our project.
And hopefully we will have a lot of people joining us. We will be having the national competitions in September and so many other interesting stuff. Maya and Mirna, thank you so much. If you would like to, close the webinar because you're the host, I'm really thankful. This was really enlightening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your attention. Thank you to panelists, Sanya, Amna, and Oliver. Thank you for doing this, not just a webinar, and also active parts in the Mostar, because you are a great thing in our city. And I hope that a new generation will lead your work. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.